whoever doesn't know the rules, please raise your hand. Okay, so 3 or 4 or 5. And how many of you here how many of you can solve this problem? Okay.
So cannot.
Can anyone else solve this? Okay. Those spaces are called the liberties, and it means it's basically their spaces of life. So if white were to surround black, black now has 3 liberties left, now 2, now 1, and if white gets to play at the final spot, then the black stone is captured, and then you take the black stone and you put it aside, and later on it's used in the scoring for the end of the game. When a stone is 1 move away from being captured, or in other words has 1 liberty left, in English, although it's a Japanese word, but we say atari, like A-T-A-R-I. So this stone is in atari. So if this black stone wants to escape, where would you play?
Put one down there.
Here? That's right. So the only way a stone can run away is by extending its liberties. So black's last liberty was here, right? So you have to extend here. If you try to extend one of these ways, it's diagonal, so it doesn't actually count as extending the liberties, so white could still capture here. So each stone has 4 liberties. How about 2 stones? How many liberties does this group have? 6. Okay. How many groups here? I mean, each stone is called a group. And groups, if the stones are connected by their liberties, then they are 1 group. So even though there's 3 stones here, it is 1. But how about this one? 2, yeah. So diagonal doesn't count. So technically, even though there's no way to disconnect black, because if white tries to play here, black can connect the liberties by playing here. Now it's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 liberties. And if white tries on the other side, same thing. Black can just connect here. So even though this is technically 2 groups, it's essentially 1 group. But knowing this is important when you want to identify a real eye from a false eye. And now let's get into eyes. So you can capture a stone like this, or you can capture 2 stones the same way, like this. But if a group wants to never be captured, then you need these things called eyes, which basically mean that 1 group surrounds at least 1 point, and it's 1 eye. The reason, well, if you have 2 eyes, then even if the entire thing is surrounded, white occupies all the liberties around black. Can this be captured?
No.
Why?
If white goes in the spaces, but they can't go there because they didn't capture the stones in another space.
Yeah, there's a rule called the suicide rule, and it basically means that just like how a stone is captured when it has 0 liberties left, you cannot place your stone into a position where it would have no spaces, no liberties. The only time you can do that is if it immediately captures another group. This black group only has 1 liberty left, right? So if white plays here, white gets to take all these off right away, like so. On the other hand, if a group has 2 eyes, because of the suicide rule, in Go you can only play one move at a time, so white cannot play both of these at the same time, so that group can never be captured. So at the end of the game, all the groups without 2 eyes will be taken off, and all the groups with 2 eyes or more will be kept on, and this will be 2 points of territory for black. So now, the main part of the game. Capturing is just kind of secondary to Go. The real point of the game is to surround territory. So, for example, let's say black surrounded this corner. Then, roughly speaking, there's 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 points in here. When you capture 1 stone, it takes 4 moves, right? But how many points do you get? You get 1 point for the capture, and you get 1 point for the space that surrounds it. So as you can see, it's a lot easier to make points by surrounding territory. The reason a capture is worth 1 point, just like 1 point of territory, is because at the end of the game, when you score to see who wins, like I said earlier, when you capture stones during the game, you get to put them aside. So if we say that they finished the game and white captured 3 stones, then if this is black's final territory, white gets to put these stones inside to reduce black's territory. So the captures reduce the territory of the same color. So this went from 15 points to 12.
Any questions so far? If anyone need an explanation later on in details, I can do it. And also, if anyone need the explanation in Chinese, I can do it too.
Yes, you want to tell me.
So if white wants to escape, white would extend the liberties, right? And then even if black keeps trying to capture white, all white has to do is keep extending the liberties. But what if black already has a stone here and then white tries to escape? Well, let's see. White runs out, but unlike this case where white has 3 liberties, now white only has 2 liberties and it's black's turn. So black would play Atari here or here, right? Trying to capture white. If black plays here, then white extends the liberties, and now, how many liberties does white have? How many? 3, yeah. So, when white has 3 liberties, and it's in the center, it's not confined, then it's going to be hard to capture white. So how about this way? If black Atari is this way, then white can only escape this way. But now black has this way because white just escapes and gets 3 liberties. So black Atari from that side. And then if white keeps escaping like this, does anyone know what's going to happen?
He's gonna die.
This shape, we call it in English a ladder, because the shape that happens when it moves across the board. Black Atari, white escape, black Atari, white escape, black Atari, white escape, black Atari. And when it gets to the